We must act, Inspector. We must act, or the good people of Staffordshire will not forgive us.
George Hidalgi, you've been found guilty of some of the most depraved and bizarre crimes I've ever encountered.
Brooks the blacksmith. He received letters too.
Ernest?
That's William Brooks. I was just with him less than an hour ago.
But this is our doing. It's our meddling. The man is dead.
Yes, and we shall avenge his death by unmasking the true Ripper. There's no time to lose our nerve, Woody.
I would like to ask for your hand in marriage.
That's Hayden Price. Hayden Price is the worst kind of criminal. Perhaps I got it wrong.
What, rather?
Everything.
He's up there.
Thank you.
Sir Arthur, look me in the eye and tell me you're innocent.
I'm innocent.
Show me your boots and your shoes, all your footwear. Is this it?
Yes.
What size do you take?
9. I have small feet relative to my height.
Who is Hayden Price to you?
There was a warden at Pentonville by the name of Clough. Often he'd ask me the same question. Would I like a dry bath?
A dry bath?
A full inspection in the washroom. When I'd answer, no, sir, he'd accuse me of having something to hide. A dry bath it is then, Hidalgi. Until one day, I refused.
Come on.
No. Hayden Price saved me from that man.
No, lady, no! I don't think...
Mr. Clough, leave him be.
But he must have asked for something in return.
Teach him to read and write. Now he asks that I complete his education. 2 hours a week's no hardship.
Tell him the conditions of your parole prohibited.
He saved my life. How can I refuse him? What my father would call fair play.
You'll be a solicitor again. And a fine one. I will see you grovel in the lake of fire. I am as sharp can be. A lake of fire. Milton. Milton, Milton, Milton. They will soon resume new courage and revive, though now they lie groveling and prostrate in yon lake of fire. Good God, Woody, knock, would you? Woody, what shoe size do I take?
11, sir.
11. When we found those boot prints in the mud, I set my shoe against the imprint and the dimension was much the same.
George Adelgy takes a smaller size.
A 9. In other words, Woody, in other words, gentlemen of the jury, despite the commonality of the bulked right heel, George Adelgy did not leave those prints, but rather someone trying very hard to make us think he did. Why are you looking dubious, gentlemen of the jury?
No, I'm just listening, Sir Arthur.
No, you're not. You're looking dubious. I know dubiety when I see it. Raise your objection.
No, I have no objection.
Ah, yes, you do. You're wondering, is George wily enough to make us think that somebody's trying to implicate him by wearing oversized shoes?
It hadn't crossed my mind.
Yes, it's a possibility we can't discount. But on balance, I'd say it spoke more to his innocence than his guilt. Fair?
Fair.
Yeah. Now, George was at school in Great Worley here, and Fred Brooks, you remember, was at school in Cannock. What was God Satan's first missive to the Adelgys?
The key on the front step.
And the key was the key to the school at Cannock. And William Brooks was the blacksmith at Worley, but he was Cannock born and bred. And the reason why his son Fred did not know George Adelgy was
because he stayed at Cannock School, even though his family had moved to Worley.
What's your conclusion?
It might be instructive to speak to Fred Brooks.
You're right, it might.
Grace of our Lord Jesus, love of God, fellowship of the Holy Ghost, be with us all evermore. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend.
Sir Arthur.
Good to see you again, Harry.
Oh, this is my mother.
Miriam Bostock.
Pleasure to meet you. Harry, I appreciate it's awkward, but if there's any way you could arrange an introduction to Fred Brooks, that could not be more important.
I'll try.
Thank you very much. We'll make ourselves scarce.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in our midst, and soliciting my son's help.
I'll catch up with you both in a minute.
Harry says you want to talk to me.
I appreciate you sparing us a moment at what must be a very difficult time.
I'm not stopping. Got work in the morning. Can't miss my train.
Well, then, would you mind if I accompany you to the station?
You think I'm an old bastard? He should have met me dad.
I did. I liked him. Plain speaking.
He was. And a few other things besides. So, what do you want from me?
I want to find out who killed your father.
If what you're saying's true, why aren't the police asking questions?
Because they're afraid of the answers. The letters your father received.
For the last time, I never saw them. Never showed them to me.
Did you ever have any dealings with George Adelgy?
The vicar's lad?
Yeah.
No, never. Why?
The letters sent to the Adelgys were addressed to the Reverend, but their focus was his son.
What of it?
You were the focus of the letters sent to your father, and one of them accused you of throwing stones at a pregnant woman near Cannock Town Hall.
If you say so.
It's a very specific, very particular accusation, Fred.
Are you saying it were true?
No. But I'm curious to know if parts of it were true. The details, and if so, who else knew those details? When we make up a story, we don't invent all of it. Cast your mind back. A pregnant woman, someone throwing stones.
It weren't stones. They were nowhere near the town hall. It was a train carriage. I think I was 12. There's a pregnant lady on there, and Speck, this lad, got on the train.
Hello, Speck.
Oh, no!
What are you doing, Speck?
What are you doing? Please, no! Oh, please, I've got a baby!
He just went wild, stabbing the seats with a knife. The woman was petrified. Speck. I always wondered what happened to him.
Were the police involved?
He came to school, asking who did it. Speck said it with me, I said it with him. He believed me. Speck got a terrible hiding off his dad.
And what was Speck's real name?
Raymond, Royden.
Royden?
Just called him Speck.
We think his first name's Royden, but his nickname was something like Speck.
Oh, this is my wife.
Mrs. Bostock?
So, Royden, he's a Cannock lad.
Yes.
Can't say it rings a bell. We didn't have much to do with him.
Well, they're a rough lot.
Well, Worley School weren't exactly at Eton College, but Cannock was the pits.
It could not be more urgent that we identify him.
Well, give me a minute and we'll head over to Cannock. I know some people who'll put you onto your spec.
Thank you. So you're baking. That's good.
Sir Arthur,
Mrs. Bostock.
we're very honoured to have such august company. My late husband was an avid reader of your books. There are one or two up there. He really wanted to be a writer himself, but the ambition of many a school teacher, I'm sure.
May I?
Of course.
She's not getting you to autograph books, is she?
That's not one of mine, alas. Shall we? Mrs. Bostock? Mrs. Bostock?
Handwriting! Oh, yeah, see you next week.
Just going to go in here and see if someone knows it. Excuse me. Excuse me. I wonder if you know where someone called Royden lives.
Oh, we...
Comfortable great text film. To the left.
Royden's shop.
Over the back.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Mason's
Thanks.
cottage. We'll see what we do then, eh?
The old Mason's cottage, above the Greatrix farm.
Is it far?
No, we can walk.
There's no lock.
Oh, what are we waiting for?
Sir Arthur, I really think...
From the wounds on the animals, I'd say we're not looking for an ordinary knife or blade. Rather something unusual and specific. Cuts only the skin and not the gut.
I'll check upstairs.
No, Sir Arthur. Sir Arthur, why don't I conduct this search alone?
Who knows forward?
We are trespassing. I have less to lose. At the very least, someone should keep watch.
Good idea. You're volunteering.
Oh.
You found nothing?
Nothing.
Prostrate upon yon lake of fire. Is there anything in that wardrobe?
Tonight.
What was that? Here, Harry, can you help me? As sharp can be.
Oh. God.
Who are you? And what you doing on my land?
We're looking for Royden Sharp. Who I wager you are not. You are, I'm guessing, Mr. John Greatrix, his employer and landlord?
And who might you be?
Sir Arthur.
Good God! Royden's the son of my old tenant farmer, Peter Sharp. They lived up here together for years. When Peter died, I should have thrown Royden out, but I didn't have the heart.
What sort of boy was Royden?
Strange, wild, nothing like his dad. Peter was a God-fearing man, and he tried to beat that fear into his son. One time he walloped Royden so bad, he almost killed him.
What had Royden done to warrant that?
I don't recall precisely. Smashed up a train carriage or something?
Does the name George Adelgee mean anything to you?
Of course, the vicar's son, the Whirly Ripper.
No. Does the name mean anything to you in connection with Royden Sharp?
Dad! Dad! We found Royden. Just up here.
For God's sake, cut him down, Robert.
Oh, good God.
I saw someone lurking at the funeral. It was him. I'm sure of it.
The spectre at the feast. During the rippings, were any of your livestock maimed or killed?
No.
And what about your neighbours?
Frank Williams lost 5 cattle.
But all of your animals were unharmed.
So?
The absence of evidence is as telling as its presence. We found this in his cottage.
Oh.
He'd got rid of Brooks. He must have known we were near. We found our man.
Boyden Sharp. I didn't know him. Why would he wish to harm me?
That's what prejudice is, George. It means I don't have to know you to dislike you. And we can no more explain his antipathy to you than we can his bloodlust for maiming cattle and horses.
I see your point.
And still I've yet to convince you that race prejudice lay behind this.
Forgive me, Sir Arthur. It is not that I am less than immensely grateful to you. It is only, perhaps, that I am a solicitor.
Ah, of course, of course.
And thinking as a solicitor, if Royden Sharp is dead and left no confession...
Or the truth will out, George. I'll see to it personally.
How?
By shaking every bureaucratic tree tainted with this travesty until a full pardon and compensation drops into our laps. It's only when they pay you know they're truly sorry.
Father, I'm not sure that the Chief Constable is going to be overjoyed at your efforts to denigrate his force.
Ah, really?
The great detective is almost upon us.
What's that, it?
I expect he'll examine the driveway for the footprints of an enormous hound. Shall we?
All the way down to the bottom of the slope without his skis and tore a huge hole in his knickerbockers.
Well, thank you both for this luncheon. It's most gracious of you.
It was no trouble at all.
Yes. Blanche, could you show Mr. Wood the gardens now?
Yes, my dear.
I believe Sir Arthur has an important matter he would wish to discuss with me. We'll go through to the study.
You've read my statement.
A deplorable business, it must be said. A series of mistakes. It could all have been nipped in the bud so much earlier.
I'm very pleased to hear you say that. What mistakes did you have in mind?
The families, that's where it all went wrong, Brandy.
No, thank you. The families?
The wife's family, whatever took it into their heads. Your daughter insists upon marrying a Parsee, can't be talked out of it, and what do? You give the fellow a living in deepest Staffordshire.
And no doubt his patrons sought to demonstrate the universality of the Anglican Church.
Please. And then to introduce two half-caste children into the neighborhood.
George and Maud.
Two half-caste children.
George and Maud.
George and Maud E. Dull G.
You've read my analysis.
I have read your story, and I admire your tenacity and passion. I also promise to keep your amateur speculations to myself. To broadcast them would do your reputation no good.
You'll have to let me be the judge of that.
Blanche was reading to me the other day an interview you gave in The Strand. You described how, when you wrote your tales, it was always the conclusion that first preoccupied you.
Beginning with the ending, yes. You cannot know which path to take unless first you know your destination.
Exactly. And you have described in your analysis how when you met young E. G for the first time, at your club, I believe, you were instantly convinced of his innocence.
Indeed, for the reasons clearly set out.
For the reasons clearly felt. And everything you have written proceeds from that feeling. Once you became convinced of the wretched youth's innocence, everything fell into place.
And once you became convinced of his guilt, everything fell into place.
My conclusion was based not upon some intuition, but on a mass of police reports compiled over 3 years.
So in your view, the boy's father, a minister in the Church of England, perjured himself?
Doyle, my view, as you call it, is the view not just of myself, but of the Staffordshire Constabulary, prosecuting counsel, a properly sworn English jury, and the justices of the Quarter Sessions. I attended every day of the trial, and I can assure you of two things. The jury did not believe the evidence of the E. G family, but they did believe the evidence of Dr. Butter, the police surgeon who found hairs from the dead pit pony on George E. G's coat.
Yes, but
an English jury sitting round a table, considering its verdict, is a solemn business. They weigh evidence, they examine character. They do not sit there waiting for a sign from above, like table turners at a seance.
Answer me this. Why?
Why would a respectable young man with no previous history of violent nature suddenly sneak out in the night and attack a pit pony in the most cruel and violent fashion?
You were the one with the paid imagination, Doyle.
Answer the question, why?
Why does human society everywhere abhor the half-caste? Because his soul is torn between the impulse to civilization and the pull of barbarism.
Oh, and is it his Scottish or his Parsi blood you hold liable for this barbarism?
You're being facetious.
I've never been more serious. Are you saying he slit the bellies of horses because that's what his ancestors did 5 centuries ago in Persia?
It may be Idalji did not know what impelled him to act as he did. An atavistic urge brought to the surface by this sudden and deplorable miscegenation.
Do you truly believe that?
Something like it, yes.
And you liken me to a table turner at a seance?
Listen, Doyle, your fellow has been released from prison. He is a free man. What is the point of your campaign? You want the Home Office to look at his case again? You want a committee? Fine. What makes you think it will yield what you hope for?
We will get our committee, and we will get a free pardon. And compensation, and further...
You want him to be completely innocent, don't you? Not just innocent, but completely innocent.
Furthermore, we will prove beyond doubt the guilt of Royden Sharp, and by extension, the incompetence and malfeasance of your constabulary.
In my experience, no one's completely innocent and no one's completely guilty. Not even your Royden Sharp.
Royden Sharp was serving a prison sentence for assault when the last 3 rippings occurred. He had an accomplice, would he?
Well, we thought the letters might bear 2 sets of handwriting.
Right, precisely. We thought they might, but we did not get them assessed by an expert, and we were nothing like thorough. He called my statement a story, Woody. And while he is a vile and a prejudiced man, I can't fault him on that.
What do you want to do, Sir Arthur?
Prepare a statement worthy of the word. Cold, empirical, impregnable. And then, Woody, we find the accomplice.
Check this H. Yeah, and here I see a conscious attempt to avoid one consistent style. Within that disguised writing, I find a number of peculiarities that suggest 2 different authors. Possibly 3, but certainly 2.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we suspected there were 2. Now try the fleet. We'll see how that compares to the others. Depth and dimension of the wound. Exactly as Dr. Butter testified.
And just to clarify, Dr. Butter, George Adelgy was arrested at 11 o'clock in the morning, and you took receipt of the coat with the hairs attached to it at 9 p.m. that evening.
That's correct.
And were you given it at the vicarage?
No, it was brought to me at my office.
Look, Sergeant. The hair? By a police officer.
By the worthy sergeant.
Sergeant Upton.
That's him. What of it?
What was Sergeant Upton's exact words, to the best of your recollection?
He said that being a clever young monkey
and intending to be a solicitor, you'll know that a pair of gloves is known as going equipped, won't you?
Was this before or after you wrote to the Chief Constable?
After. I wrote to him again, complaining of Sergeant Upton's behavior, but I received no reply.
That was when it started, the watching and the lurking.
Yes, there were constables outside the vicarage at all hours, in the woods and lane, and your barn across the way.
Harry. Hello, George. Reverend Shabuji.
Harry?
I told him, Sir Arthur. I did. I said to wait until you'd taken your pictures.
Sir Arthur, I should like to accompany you.
Yes, by all means. Come on.
Well, I'm sorry, but I got new tenants moving in. I couldn't leave it like it was.
That's your son, isn't it?
Yes?
Did you have much to do with riding when you were growing up?
Not much. You're a good 10 years younger than me.
Did you have any friends you recall? People he might have got into trouble with?
People mostly thought him strange.
And if he were up to mischief, he'd go somewhere his dad wouldn't catch him and birch him.
What, Mr. Greatorex?
I remember speaking to his dad once. He was worried about riding. More than usual, I mean.
Why?
A lad at school.
Cannock School?
Well, Peter felt this boy, he had a hold over riding. That he brought out things in him that otherwise he might have stayed hidden.
And who was this boy?
I couldn't say. I don't think he was local. I think he joined the school late.
At what age would riding then?
12, 13.
Well, let's find another way in. No. Come on.
We're looking for the register books for the years 88 and 89. Any reference to a boy starting school later in the year?
Stop!
Take a seat in the back, next to Roden Shaw.
Ah, there you are, Harry. You found the registers. Is that the one?
88.
Royden. Boss dog.
Willie! It's Harry! George! Get out of the front! Now, Willie! George, you go through there!
Right, here comes one. Brace yourself.
He's up there.
Thank you, Eddie.
That's all, sir.
What? What are you looking at? You want to know why? Do you really need to ask?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Once you got moved up to the front of the class, you became teacher's pet.
Which gives us a grand total of... George?
11 3/4, sir.
Correct.
After that, I was invisible. You talk about him at home, over dinner. Discuss him. With my mother. I'd rather think George would make a good solicitor, or even a doctor. Such an ordered brain, such a disciplined mind. It was frightening. I didn't exist. Like I'd fallen off the face of the earth.
So you rebelled?
And he sent me off to school with the sons of Caddick farmhands.
And you blame me for that? Not your father?
No, I blamed both of you.
Did you kill your father, Harry?
That's between me and him. And William Brooks. I'll give you that one. Why? The letters we sent to Royden wrote most of them. He did like I told him right to the end, but he was sloppy. Putting things that could identify us.
So you just told him to put his head in a noose?
You know, when you took up George's case, I was relieved in a way. I wanted it to be over. And at the same time...
At the same time, what?
I thought, wouldn't it be something to outwit the man who invented Sherlock Holmes? Wouldn't Dad be proud?
And all the time I was in prison, did your conscience never trouble you? Did you ever consider turning yourself in?
You did 3 years in prison. I did 4 years at Cannock School. I reckon that makes us even, you little mongrel.
George! Give me your hand! Hang on there, will you go? Come, little mongrel half-breed bastard! Reach out! Put it! Reach! Oh, God. Hey, don't say that! Get him, Willie. That's it. Good lad.
Harry Bostock, who would have thought?
See to the body.
Yes, sir.
He was clever, audacious. He flattered me into thinking I was making progress. That's all the while he was leading me by the nose.
Yeah, keeping us close to keep us at bay.
And what of Royden Sharp?
He nursed a grudge against Fred Brooks.
Harry nursed one against you, and together they went around settling their scores.
But Fred Brooks didn't serve a sentence for 3 years for a crime he didn't commit.
No, he didn't.
Get you out of here! I think I need some air, Woody. I'm only walk.
Very good, sir. If you're sure.
Yeah, I am.
Waterloo, please.
How much for your snow globes?
Arthur?
On my last visit, you observed that I judged myself to be guilty and in need of redemption. That was my true impetus to seeking justice for George Agelgy. I demurred, characterizing the connection as fanciful.
Tortured.
Tortured.
And melodramatic.
Well, perhaps I did protest too much. And perhaps I've found that peace you spoke of. It's one for every year we shall be married.
Providence permitting.
Providence be damned.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
You.
Look forward to meeting him.
Uh-huh. Where is he? Here he is.
Oh.
George, I'm so sorry we were detained. This is Miss Jean Leckie.
We've been shopping.
No, Arthur, you were talking.
Well, I was talking to a shopkeeper. He'd served in South Africa and seemed only civil to
That
us.
is still talking, not shopping. I'm very happy to meet you, George.
Very happy to meet you. See, George, we're preparing for marriage, and the power's already shifted quite dramatically to my disadvantage.
Congratulations. To you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a happy outcome in which you had no small hand.
I did?
Certainly. And that's why we'd like to invite you to our wedding.
There's no person we'd be prouder to have there than you.
I would be honored.
Good. Well, I'll leave you to it. Goodbye, George.
Goodbye.
Take a seat. I have it on very good authority that within a fortnight a committee of inquiry will be announced by the Home Secretary. Its purpose to consider various matters in the ALG case that have given rise to public disquiet.
It's not a pardon.
No, it's not. But it's a big step towards one. I have other news. As from next month, you'll be readmitted to the role of solicitors.
Thank you.
Your call to arms did me more good than you'll ever know. We've still a fair way to go, though.
I know.
I apologize. I've got to get going. I've got a very tedious speaking engagement at the Royal Geographical Society.
Of course. Thank you for everything, Sir Arthur.
You're very welcome. Woody, hey, you should have come and said hello.
Well, I don't think he likes me, Sir Arthur.
Ah, nonsense. Mind you, you did actively seek to dissuade me from pursuing his case every step of the way.
Not every step.
You got it wrong. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Thank you, Sir Arthur.
It's an honest mistake.
About which I'll never hear the end.
I wouldn't say never.